Fortunately, and I think this is true of almost every writer except maybe Stephanie Meyer, has got some shelf novels that are just that's the thing you had to write to get where you were going to go.
Yeah.
But I do find that those can still be ransacked. There's ideas in there that were good ideas. I just didn't have the craft to pull them off. But I
Yeah.
can still steal the initial spark and put that elsewhere. So I don't know if there's something like that that you can use for another book.
There are characters, in that story that um, I could definitely cut out of that original story and probably put elsewhere because I really like those characters. And who knows, like, maybe one day I will be able to go back to it and, revise it and really put it together the way it needs to. So I don't know. It's just like one of those things, this sitting in my shelf for now. So either I will scoop something out of there and use it with something new, or I will freshen it up and see if my agent wants to take a look at it, maybe like, I don't know, a couple of years from now.
What you should do is not edit it all and send it to her and say, "This is my new project." And then when she's like trying to figure out how to tell you it's not the project that she wants, you send her the actual new project, and it will look amazing by comparison.
I don't know. She might look at that and be like, all right, like, because, okay, so that project has been all over Root Literary at this point because my agent wasn't even she was the assistant to the person who was querying. So who I was querying. Basically, when I won that contest, I want to say it may have gotten on like Holly Root's radar. And so she had her assistant sort of reach out and be like, hey, we heard you won this contest. Do you want to send us the manuscript? And I was all excited because I like Root. Like, they seemed like very female driven and modern, and like I just like their approach to how they work with their clients. So I was super excited about it. I sent it to Holly, and I want to say it kind of sat there for a while. I don't know if that manuscript was, I know that manuscript wasn't ready, but I actually sent Be Real Macy Weaver. I had written that, and I went back to Holly like some months later. I think they asked for it in like July, and I went back in October and was like, I'm just nudging about the first book, but if you don't like it, I have this second book. And they were like, okay, like, just okay, give us that. And so I gave them the second book and I waited. And in that time period, Holly's assistant, Melanie, became an agent. And so a little while after that, she was like, I'm excited about, it wasn't called Be Real Macy Weaver. It was called like something else. And she was like, I'm excited about this project. I want to work with you. Like, I'm not, an assistant anymore. I have been training to be an agent. And so it was like two worlds collided. We became a perfect match. And here we are, selling books.
Was the book by any chance called The Webs We Weave?
Yes. It was called The Webs We Weave for so long that like my friends are so ridiculous. Like they were like making up like show tunes to like, oh, The Webs We Weave. And I like just, nudging me about it all the time. And when that title got changed, they were like, all right, this isn't as child friendly. How about, and so like some ideas got kicked around. And I was like, no, I don't want to get rid of The Webs We Weave. And like looking back on it, I'm so glad we changed the title because I love Be Real Macy Weaver. I do feel like there's like a certain catchiness that could catch a child's eye. So they were right. They are they're the experts, and they the publishing houses, they work on these things like every day. And so they knew. They knew what was best.
I should shamelessly plug for the audience that if they were to go back and check episode 18, they would hear the most wonderful interview with Holly Root. And they could also go back in the back catalog and check out my conversation with Molly O'Neill. So that's most of the Root Literary team right there. And Melanie, if you're listening, and why wouldn't you? I've got your favorite client on. You should also come on the show. We'd all love to hear what you have to say and learn your perspective on why The Webs We Weave was not the most perfect title.
No, she's not the one. She's not the one who changed the title. My editor and that whole team at Penguin Random House, they were the ones that were like, all right, like here's some options. How do you feel about it? And yeah, so. But do you know, like this, not to like go back to the to Holly Root again, but I wanted to know more about the literary agency as a whole. And this is the podcast that I watched. It was so good. And it was so long. I learned like so much history about the agency I was at, like just listening to her talk on here. So that's when I became a fan.
Oh, nice. Well, that's